So let's give you again an overview. So basically, as we all already know, like list view will use for a tabular format where you want to see multiple or display multiple similar kind of data, either to display the data or to take an input from the user, right? So you
Yeah.
already know that when we have discussed it multiple times. Now,
Yeah.
list view is a just like detailed view. List view is also a primary view. Okay.
Yeah.
So how does a list view actually operate? So we know array, right? So and if I have an array of 10 numbers, how do I print it? I'll use a loop, right? Or
Okay.
which we call as an iterator, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So for list view to display those objects, okay, we use iterators. Okay.
Okay.
So to that iterator, we are just going to pass either a list or a array or a query of data. Okay.
Okay.
So array of related entities often associated with the root object. Now, obviously, since it's a primary view, we need to create a required variable. To the required variable, either we can pass either a root object or we can pass also an array or a list. Okay.
Mm.
So we'll go through one by one. First, create a list view. So this is how a list view will look like. Okay. This is how a list view
Okay.
will look like, which has three fields like let's say date, event type, and description.
Okay.
Okay. Let's create this one because for others I don't have a test data, so we'll create this similar list view. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. Okay. Uh, yeah. Tell me, Sandeep. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
here again within PCF, okay, under
Yeah.
training, I am just creating. So just created a folder. Okay. So now I'll select a file and select
Okay.
list view. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll give it to the name. Let's say history. Okay. I'm not giving list. Okay. Because already LV is associated. So history list view. Okay.
Do that. Okay.
And I'll click on OK.
Okay.
List view is created. But now it is asking like it needs one child element because okay we have created a list view, but what it should iterate through. Okay.
Mm.
So for that we add a row iterator.
Okay.
Okay. Now once we have added a row iterator, okay fine. It knows that okay this is the iterator in which I need to iterate. Okay.
Okay.
But now what is the values that it should iterate? Because it doesn't have a list or an array passed to it. Okay. So just like our detail view, in the list view, we are going to pass a required variable. So in the required variable, since we are root object as contact, so we are going to pass as an AV contact, which is type AV contact entity. Okay.
Okay.
Now here in the value, we are going to use the same. So an AV contact dot array of values. So array is history. Okay, so it shows contact history array. History entries, it shows history entry as array. So I'm going to use this
Okay.
history entries array. So wherever this array is there, I can use those directly in the value. Okay.
Okay.
Now it's of type entity dot history entry. Okay.
That will come automatically.
Yeah, that will come automatically if because here we are using an entity. If you are using a
Mm,
query, so obviously you'll return less list of strings. So then you can use list strings, okay,
okay.
or like so whatever is be the object type. You just have to enter the object type. Okay.
Okay.
Now this is the part which we have like passed it in like just I'm explaining you in the format of function so that it will be easier for you to understand also. So now you passed a value. Okay, so this is let's say a
Okay.
value that you passed, and this is the value type. Okay, so now you have you need to give the variable name, the row iterator a name. Okay, so
Mm,
now I'm giving here history entries. Okay, and is it editable? So for now I'm giving editable as false. Now I've added everything, but still it is showing an error message. Now what is the error? There must be one child element. Now again the same thing. The row iterator. Okay, fine. I have got the values, but where I should display those values?
mm,
Okay, so for that, inside this row iterator, I need to add cells.
okay.
So I will add, let's say, a text cell first. Okay. Now in this text cell, I'll provide the ID. So let's say this ID is. I'll just use a entry and give the ID at the same time. Entries dot. So since I used the text one, I cannot I'll just use a description
Okay.
and I'll use another date cell here. Okay.
Okay.
This so history entries dot create. Now the ID is let's say here create date ID. So this is your HTML ID which will get created. And here the entry is like let's say description ID. What's else? Now your row iterator is created. Okay.
Okay.
In the row iterator you have two values. One is date and one is a description. But I don't have a level here yet. So I need to add a level. So in the level I'll add like let's say date and here it is description. Okay. So now our list view is
Okay.
created. Clear?
Mm,
I'll just go to some other screen and count because it is not refreshing. So this is how your list view will look like. One is date and the description and what how many of the history entry objects would be there. That many dates and description will be displayed. Now let's display
okay.
this on the UI. How to use this? So we will go to where is our application here. So in our application, go to the summary screen and use it here. Now, I came here directly because either you can use a panel reference because we know that it's a primary view, so we can use a panel reference to refer it. Or so I could have used it directly here with the help of a panel reference. So panel reference, the panel reference. Okay, so here I can use the list view, which is history LV and AV contact. That's it. Okay, so either I can do this or I can also use a list view inside a detail view, right? To use a list view and a detail view, you cannot use panel reference. You have to use a list view panel. So list view input. Okay, because all the detail views it accepts only input. Okay, input column or input. List view. Now in this list view input, we will give level of first true, and in the definition we will add same history list view with a now whenever you add a list view, okay, a list view input, a list view input is always bound to have a toolbar. Okay, so we'll add a toolbar here, and now we'll refresh. Let's see here. Now I'm not adding any button because we are not editing it, we are just displaying it. So now let's update in our application. So we'll just refresh, load our application. Now if you see here, we have a description. Okay, so this is displayed in the display in the detail view, and this is displayed when we added a panel reference. So you can use both ways, do it however you like you want, you can use it likewise. Okay, you want to display it either in the detail view or you want to display it individually as an independent primary one. So you can use both ways to do that. So I'm currently removing it from here. Now that's how you can create a list view. Now let's create a this one. So you got till this one, right?
Yeah, this one clear.
So what happens? So a iterator, so like I told you, a row iterator. Once you have applied a row iterator, so how it will load the data? So it will load the first row, and then the second row, then the third row. For if the iterator has three objects, if more likewise, it will iterate through and load the data. So we created a list view. We used it. And we used the toolbar also. So we used both channel reference as well as this one. Now we have already gone this. Now label above equals to true. So already I've told you this one. So when we have label above is true, so it will be on the label will be distant top, or else it will become an offset and it will sideline the list view, which makes it looks distorted, like in the last image you see. So that's where we set label above as true to avoid that. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So if you see in the first image, there is no label. Okay. Still, when label above is false, there is an offset gap because
Okay.
of the toolbar. So this gap is because of the toolbar. Second one, you
Okay.
have a label, and this one because of the toolbar. Sorry, because of the label. Okay, this gap
Label.
is okay. So to avoid that, it's always advised to use level above as true for whenever you use list view. Okay, until and unless like you need some margin or gap, in some like exceptional scenarios you may need, but most of the scenarios level above should stay as true. Okay.
Okay.
Now you need to create a editable list view. So we have created a list view, but we are not able to edit it now, right? So let's create
Yeah.
a editable list view now. So we'll again create a new list view because for history now it is just an entity which stores data which where you cannot enter data. So we'll use another
Okay.
entity where we can write. So let's say bank details list view, and we'll create this. So similarly, we'll just create a row iterator, and inside the row iterator we will add cell. So we'll just take the example here, bank name, routing number, account number. Okay. So here again we need to create a required variable and AB contact, AB contact, then inside the row iterator we will use an AB contact dot bank accounts. Okay, this entity I'm going to use, which
Okay.
is an array of bank accounts. National service, it's an bank account entity. Now creating a variable bank account, and here I'll mark editable as true, where I can edit the whatever the elements that I'll be adding now, whatever the cell that I'll be adding inside the row iterator, I'm now allowed to edit. If I'm marking this as false, then even if I have the cells editability as true, still it will be false because the parent editability is false. Okay. Always the properties will in PCFs will always flow from parent to child. So if the parent is non-editable, automatically the child becomes non-editable. Okay.
Okay.
Similarly, if the parent is not visible, like visibility is false, automatically the child is also not visible, even if the visibility of the child is true. Okay. So now in the
Okay. Suppose
row,
the parent is editable, then the child is not mandatory to editable, right?
automatically the child becomes editable. So now you can handle it at
Oh,
the child level. Okay. So like
okay.
let's say at the if all the childs are not editable, then I'll just disable editability at the parent level itself. Okay. Let's some childs are
Okay.
editable, some are not. Then obviously the parent will be true, right? And then I'll individually make the childs true or false.
True. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Now here adult is true. The ID is let's say bank name ID, level is bank name, and value would be bank account dot bank name. Okay. Now similarly, the next field is a routing number. That would again be a text cell. It will teach true. ID is routing number ID. Level would be routing number, and then the value is similarly bank account dot what happened? Routing number. Yeah. Now we'll just use account type. We'll use a type key cell here. So now account type is a type list. Okay. So that's why I'm using a type key here. So if wherever it is a drop down, so either you can use a type key or a range cell. Okay.
Okay.
So type key you will use only when you are loading it from a type list. Range cell you will use only when you are defining a different range which is not there in a type list. Okay. For example, so mostly like if when you are getting a value from a through a query, or you are preparing your own list of elements and trying to display it, in those cases you'll go for a range cell or a range input. Okay. Type key cell or a type key input you will use when you are referring to type lists. So directly some columns will be referring to type list in the entity. So then if you want to display, you can directly use a type key. Okay.
Okay.
Now here also the editability is true. I forgot the name. It's account type. Account type ID. The level would be account type, and the value would be again bank account dot with this bank account. Okay. Bank account dot account type. Sorry. Account dot account type, which is of type key bank account type. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we have now prepared a bank details list view, but yet are not able to edit it. So to edit, how will we use now here? Instead of referring to this history list view, I'll be using this bank details list view with the same argument like an AV contact. Now I'll be able to see that. Now here I'm able to see it. Let's see what is happening on the UI.
Okay.
Now if you see here, I'm able to see bank accounts. One is checking, one is saving. But I'm not able to edit yet. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Now to edit it, as I told you, so obviously the parent is not editable, so obviously the child is not editable. So let's click on this parent. I'm making the parent editable. Making the parent editable automatically made the child editable. Okay. So now let's say we will update this value. So I'm adding another, changing it from 9 to let's say 8. So just check whether the update is happening or not. And I'm clicking on update. So now if you see the value is updated. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Now let's try to add a button here and see what is the change that is happening now. So I'll add here
Edit button.
edit buttons. Okay, so now edit buttons you added to edit it. Okay, to edit
Okay.
the screen. Now here I am adding iterator buttons.
Okay, okay. Adding. Okay.
Okay, now what is the need of iterator buttons? I'll show you. So that what we did is just editing. Okay, so we just
Yeah, yeah.
edited the value. But see here, what I did here is just change the value.
Okay.
Correct? But I have only two values. I want to add more values. I have no option to add it, right?
Hmm.
So I cannot add any more values. I can just edit those values. Okay, so
Okay.
now what we were going to do is to create an option to add, the user can add more bank accounts. So I'm just going here and in the iterator, okay, I need to call this list view. Okay, one way of doing it is just uh, to link widgets. Okay, it happens sometimes, it doesn't happen most of the times. So you can link the widget. Okay, so like you click here and you link this to this list view. Okay, or the best way to do that is to so that it's an approvable way, like you know also it is happening. You go to this list view. Now in this list view, you add exposes. Okay,
Okay. Exposes. Okay.
okay. So now what I did here, I selected exposes iterator, expose iterator because I need to iterate and add. Okay,
Okay.
because I want to add it one like in a list. Okay, so expose you can use only when we want to use to like you want to display somewhere. Okay, or you want have just a single element to uh, work with, then you can go with expose. Okay,
Okay.
so what would have happened now if I would have linked here this button, automatically that exposure would have been created automatically here, this exposure. Okay, so just to show you, I just came here. Now once we have created it, we need to call from this button this particular list view. Okay, we
Hmm.
need to call it, or else how will it know where it has to iterate if I click on
Yeah, yes.
add, where it needs to add. So to do that, I'll use the list view's name here, which is bank details LV dot whatever I have added as the exposure list view. So exposure iterator, I added a variable there, right? With the same
Yeah,
name,
yeah.
bank details LV. Okay. So now my add and remove buttons are created and they are linked with this list. Okay. So now let's go there And
But you have added that expose value in that bank details LV, right?
yeah,
The list view. Yeah, okay. The list view we have to add it. Okay.
yeah. So it is just like we're calling bank details list view dot bank details list view.
Okay.
Now, why this problem where most like it is a scoring standard. Now we can name it anything, but it is better to keep it like that so that it is easy to remember, right?
Okay.
Or
Okay.
else, or else like what will happen now? Again, I'll call this again. I'll go to expose this, try to find out what is the name of that it is given. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
mostly you can use different variables if you're using and the second thing is like using different variables may create an issue of creation of multiple exposures. Okay, so
Mm,
because you may create one and I may create one same thing, so it is the coding standard to have the same
okay.
okay.
Mm,
Now you have done it. Now you see here you have reloaded the page,
mm.
but I'm not able to see the add and remove button yet. Okay, now why that is because the screen is not editable. I'll
Mm.
click on edit and still I'm not able to see it. Why? Friend, it got loaded or
Reloaded.
not? Did it got loaded or not?
I think you're not loaded.
No, it is loaded. So it should show here.
Mm.
So happened.
Add visible.
No, that is how by default it is true. No, because by default it should be visible here. One minute. And okay, so we have linked it, right? Have we created those variables or not? I feel I missed one variable. That's why it is not coming in. Okay, actually, sorry. We have linked this, but we haven't called this one. Okay, I did the mistake here. Now we need to call this add function. Okay, so from
Mm.
that add button, else it will not be visible. So now call it. So we could call just to create and add. So because we need to create the object as well as add the object. Okay. Now to add
Okay.
you can call when like you are creating the object yourself, but that is mostly not used because it's a bit confusing. Okay, because uh, if somewhere it breaks down, that becomes an issue. So let the framework create the object as well as add it to your list view, which is better. Okay,
Okay.
so let's first use this. We'll use this one first and see. So an AV contact dot. Now what happens is whenever you create an array in an entity, we know there are few like fields which gets created automatically. Just like that, few functions also gets created automatically. So whenever you create an array, there are two functions which
Mm-hmm.
get created for every array entity that gets added to the parent entity. Like say to A entity, B and C are both are added as array. Then for B two functions and for C two functions will be generated, which is add to and remove from. entity name. Okay, so we'll use R2 bank accounts. Okay, and we will pass the bank account element here. Similarly, to remove, we will add an every contact dot remove from bank
Okay.
accounts, and will similarly pass the object which we need to remove. Okay,
Okay.
so that's what actually I missed it to do. Now, I told you this to create an ad. Now, to create an ad, you have to create the object. Okay, so this becomes an issue because if the object that you created is not detected properly by the framework, okay, then the framework may break. So mostly this is
Uh-huh.
used for whenever you use buttons. If we go and check add, so if you see here add button is there, right? So for add buttons mostly to create an ad is used. It is also given here because this is where you can see here to create an ad or pick locations. So you have to use this mostly for whenever you use the add button, because add buttons are like drop down buttons, so where you have multiple options to select from a button. Okay,
Mm.
so because that's where you have to create different objects, right? It may be a person, it
Yeah.
may be a company. So in that kind of a scenario, you can use an add button and then pass the function which creates the object for you. Okay, you have when you go to gosu, you just write down a gosu code, and through the code you just pass the object to it. So, so mostly that is the time where it is used. So it is very rarely used. Most of the time, iterator buttons would be used. That is add and remove. Okay.
Okay.
Now since we have added that, so we'll again reload the screen. Okay. Now if you see what has happened. Now since we have added that iterator functions, you can see here checkboxes. Okay.
Okay.
Now to control those
But that
checkboxes,
but that button is not visible, right? Add as a remove.
no, that will be visible if I click on this edit.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Mm.
Now these checkboxes are visible. You can also control them from here. There is a list view. If you go and you check here, uh, hide checkboxes. See, hide checkboxes if read only. This one is false, because of which our checkboxes are visible even when this list is read only. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this has checkboxes. Sorry, hide checkboxes if read only as true and reload it. Now if you see checkboxes are no more visible. Okay, so you're not able to
Okay.
select if it is in read only mode. Now I'll just make it to edit mode. Now when it is in edit mode, now I'm able to see the checkboxes. So let's add one entry. So I'm clicking on add. Now when I'm clicking on add, one new row got added. So here I'll enter, like let's say HDFC Bank. I'll give some routing number, like let's say 667-889, and I'll select it's a savings account and add. So now again if I click on add, another row will be added. Okay, likewise. So as many adds I do, rows will go on added. Now I want to remove it. So I can click on this and remove it also. So once it is done, so as we did for editing, similarly to update, again we go to the parent and we'll update it. Now we see the value is updated and added to the list view.
Just okay.
Go to the next screen, we come back and we can see here, it is still there. Okay, which means it got updated.
Mm.
Clear?
Yeah, yeah.
Now let's say you only want to add, but you don't want to remove. Like you don't allow the user to remove. In that kind of scenario, you can use add checkboxes as true. Okay, not this one. Yeah, checkbox visible. Now this one you can make it as false. Now if you click on this one as false, then checkbox won't be visible. If for the person, okay, to remove the data that you have added. Now mostly this is used during permissions. Like if let's say you have permission only to add, but you don't have permissions to remove, so then these fields are used. For more, like I have already given you that this one, right, the PCF index file, so you can go through that one. So more for each and
Okay.
every field, you'll see the description. You can go through them, and if you have any doubts, then you can ask me. Okay.
Okay.
Now, okay, fine. So now that's all for this list view. And as an exercise, now if you see, I have just created three fields here. I'd like you to
Mhm.
create, yeah, let's see here. So I'd like you to create this whole one.
Okay.
Okay, let's
Mhm.
create this whole
Okay.
one and, and do all the things that we did. Try to update it, update the data, and if any issues, then we can discuss in the next session. Okay.
Okay.
After this, we have like card. We'll go through card views and list details views tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. And try to
Okay.
also create detailed views because see, card view and list detail views are like very rare where the project initiation.
Your voice is not audible.
No, no, I said like list views, the list detail views and this one card views are there, right? So they are mostly
Yeah.
used on project initiation. Okay, most of the
Okay.
time you will be using detail views and list views. So like try to practice and create one list view, one detail view. Try to use a
Detail
list
view.
view and a detail view. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
already learned all the three primary ones, right? So those
Yeah.
three
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
the mostly most common